So, basic oral communication. There are some skills that every preacher needs to be aware of. Here are a few principles. I think I've got 6 I want to just highlight for you. Number 1, establish a friendly atmosphere. When you establish a friendly atmosphere for your preaching, people are more relaxed, they're more comfortable, they're more likely to listen to you. They see you as likable and friendly. Conversely, if they see you as stuffy and unfriendly and maybe arrogant, they won't listen. So if people like you, they will listen to you. If they decide, and it's kind of an unconscious, intuitive decision, but if people decide that they don't like you, they won't listen. So when you're starting to speak, and it could be in, as a guest speaker or a new speaker or a different audience altogether, establishing that friendly atmosphere, that likability factor, is really important, your communication. Principle number 2, encourage participation, not simply observation. This is really interesting, and it might sound difficult to do. How do you achieve participation, not just observation? Because it's a one-way communication. It's not a conversation. The preacher is doing all the talking. So how, in that kind of one-way communication, do we involve participation? Well, you can do it by eye contact, by asking questions that people will not verbally answer, but they'll just answer in their own minds. And you may invite them, to open their Bibles, to bow in prayer, to turn to their neighbor, to write something down. But any creative means that involves participation will just engage your listeners more. So we're not looking for passive observation or passive listening. We're looking for participation and engagement. That's principle number 2. Number 3, emphasize believability and integrity. In other words, don't fake it. If you are trying to tell a story and illustrate something, and that story involves carpentry, don't pretend to understand carpentry if you don't. Don't pretend to be a golfer if you've never played golf. So the believability factor, the credibility and the integrity will be obvious. If you're faking it, people will pick it up. People who actually know something about that subject matter will say, he doesn't know exactly what he's talking about. He's faking it. So believability, sincerity is another word really of what I'm describing here. People will sense if you're sincere, and they will sense if you're just going through the motions, using cliches, and you're lacking that personal moving of your own heart as you engage in proclaiming the gospel. Principle number 4 is your voice. Your voice and your speech should be inconspicuous. In other words, if your voice or speech is really stern or angry or really has a heavy accent or a speech impediment, these things will distract. So your pronunciation of words, not mumbling your words, not kind of pressing words together, but articulating each word properly and carefully. All of that voice, thinking of your voice. So it's inconspicuous, not annoying, And then number 5, use gestures effectively and appropriately. So one of the ways we gesture, of course, maybe the primary way, is with our hands, with our face, our eyebrows, our eyes, our smile, our body moving forward, leaning in, using gestures effectively, not in a way that looks contrived or mechanical, but just kind of flows with the words you're speaking. And then finally, principle number 6, convey humility, not arrogance. I read a story recently in a book, and the book was asking the question, what kind of medical doctors get sued by their patients? And I would imagine the people who get sued are incompetent doctors. But that's actually not true. The kind of doctors who get sued by their patients are doctors that are unlikable and talk down to their patients and are arrogant. Doctors who are kind and show respect to their patients, most likely they're not going to be sued, even if they're incompetent and they do something negligent in the surgery. So it's an interesting principle for preachers to keep in mind. If we convey humility, if we convey sincerity, obviously these are Christian qualities, and we shouldn't have to feel that that's something we've got to, fix or change. It should be part of the character of a Christian. But hey, we're all works in progress. So yes, we have to be aware of things that are arrogant, and we have to be humble. Paul says, I see through a glass darkly. So there's got to be a humility that we approach. I don't mean a lack of conviction about the gospel, but there can be areas that are sensitive and need context, and we can be a bit reckless in these areas from time to time. So conveying humility will earn us an audience, and people will hear the gospel. So those are some basic principles of communication that I think can help us as preachers. I'm Fred, and this is Fred Talks. Thanks for watching.